Hello, beautiful beings. I'm just gonna adjust my camera and didn't realize I had my canvas in the background. Ugh. Okay, that didn't really do much. I'm working on a painting. Check it out. Well, okay, you can't really see, but it is gonna be a really beautiful Egyptian goddess with lots of gold and symbolism, and I'm very, very excited for it. I'm still a little sicky, so you could probably hear it in my voice, but doing a lot better, and Nat and Bodhi are doing better too. So thank you all so much for understanding that I had to take off last Monday live, which I don't usually ever do. So it's been a while since I've taken a live off. Oh my goodness. I just came from the Stairway to the Stars conference in Las Vegas, which was really perfect because I didn't have to go very far to attend. And it was incredible. I mean, I always really feel this way every time I do an in-person event, but meeting the community is unlike anything else. It's like a very small percentage of all of you online being able to show up, come out, fly in, and I hugged so many people and got to meet so many amazing souls and listen to your story, and there's just nothing like it. And really hearing how I've impacted your life as well is really beautiful. Fun side story. You know how I always tell you that I'm actually really short and a tiny human? Well, I had probably at least 10, maybe 15 people have to verbalize that to me in person. Oh my God, EA, you really are short. Wow. I was even walking down a hallway on the first day that I was at the conference, and I hear someone be like, oh my God, that's EA. Oh my, wow, she really is short. And I'm like right there. So I'm like, hi, I hear you making short jokes over there. And I totally called her out. She was mortified, but we all had a good laugh about it. And really, guys, like I'm 5'1". So yeah, I know you can't tell, but shorty vibes going on over here. Thank you, Mark, for that super chat. I wanted to show you my award. I actually won an award during the conference, which is pretty awesome. What's with never winning an award in my entire life and then winning two in 1 year? One from the Conscious Life Expo, the book award, and this is actually another, I won an award for my book again, and it's such a cool award. Check it out. Look at this thing. It's massive. So this is actually shungite. This is a giant shungite pyramid. And this is the award, which is awesome because I love shungite personally. And it's one of my favorite stones. It protects against EMF, and it's like 20 pounds, so I'm going to put it down. And yeah, and it also, what else does it do? Oh yeah, and it wards away like dark energies and stuff like that. So I actually don't have any notes today. I thought I would just kind of get on and wing it, but I do have a very important message about chaos and navigating through that. I was taking a look at my previous videos, like my most recent videos, and there's been a lot of like galactic talk, a lot of alien talk, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just bring it right back down to earth and let's talk about something that really affects all of us, our human. And I guess before I get there, I just want to do a huge shout out just with the conference to Disclosure Fest Foundation. Adrian, who's a friend of mine who runs Disclosure Fest, not only did he put on this incredibly impressive conference at the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas, and we were able to clear the grid of Las Vegas, or at least plant a seed that is going to expand and grow and help to clear that portal, which is one of the darkest portals in the world, but also one of the most powerful portals in the world, here in Las Vegas. And so I'm so grateful for that. But also, he took the time this week to give out over 1,000 meals to homeless people in the area as well. Like, I've never met someone who is so authentically genuine about putting on an event. Pretty much every other event or conference I've been to, yes, good vibes, good people, but also there's this energy of monetary gain. And with Disclosure Fest and Adrian, that is literally the furthest thing in his mind. As a matter of fact, I think he probably lost a lot of money putting that event on. And the fact that he was still out there hustling meals, donating, volunteering, giving back to the community, going to schools, educating kids. I mean, it's really impressive. So I just wanted to say huge shout out. And another huge shout out to a very active community member. You should all know her. Her name's Megan Hall. Hi, Megan. And she was my incredible volunteer this past weekend. She took everyone's photos, and I was kind of chuckling to myself thinking, oh my God, I'm one of those people who has like a posse around me now. Really, I mean, it was just Megan and my dad, but still, it was just funny having like people with me. I don't know. It's just like, it was great though. It was so great. So thank you so much, Megan, for your support and your volunteer work and your help at the conference. That was very, very well needed. So I appreciate that. Yeah, so let's talk about chaos. Here's what I want to say about chaos, okay? Now, with the energy of chaos also comes into play this energy of, what do I call it? Like overwhelm and anxiety, right? And I think all starseeds really do suffer from anxiety. Part of the reason why I put a whole chapter on anxiety in my book is because of this. And the reason why starseeds suffer so much from anxiety is because we're empaths. And the more that we raise our vibration and the more that we shift the vibration on planet Earth, the more empathic, the more sensitive, the more connected we get to the world around us, the more affected we become by the world around us. And so it can really escalate. And something that I find very fascinating, just in my own experience of chaos, is there are days where nothing has changed. Nothing is different in my reality. And yet I feel so much more overwhelmed. Yet I feel so much more behind. Yet I feel so much more chaos. And yet nothing's changed. Nothing's different. So I had this download a couple of weeks ago. And it was about chaos and overcoming chaos. Okay, how do I put this? Every physical thing in our reality holds a frequency. And I think we can all just agree to that, right? Every physical thing holds a frequency, like this beautiful Shungite award, or this ring light that I'm sitting in front of, or the chair that I'm sitting on, or the canvas that I've started to paint beside me, or draw on beside me. You know, everything, the pillow on the couch, and then of course you look at your dog, or your cat, or your neighbor, or, you know, other things that maybe hold even more value and meaning, and energy and frequency, right? Like living things as well, and plants. And they're all giving off energy. And sometimes that energy is neutral. Like I find that plants, trees, are very neutral. It's a very neutral energy. And that's why something like going out into nature is very soothing and calming for us, especially those of us with anxiety, is because it's a neutral place to be, right? But then you think about, you know, even your phone or your computer, and that gives off a certain frequency and vibration. And then you have a perception attached to that thing, and that has a certain frequency and vibration. And if you really think about it, Us being surrounded by stuff and being surrounded by people and being surrounded by other dramas and then you think about the world and, you think about wars that are happening in the world and suffering and pain and all of these things. Of course you're going to feel overwhelmed. Of course you're going to feel chaos. Of course you're going to feel anxious. The more sensitive we become, i.e., the higher the vibration we are, the more sensitive we are to the energies around us. And everything around us, including the clothing that we wear, holds that energy. So it can feel overwhelming. And that's why sometimes, as a human being, especially when I had a 9-to-5, it was like, I'm just doing my 9-to-5 work, or I'm answering emails, I'm cooking dinner, I'm taking care of Bodhi, I'm dressing myself, and wow, do I ever feel overwhelmed. Wow, do I ever feel spiraled in the chaos. And it just feels like sometimes just getting by is even too much to handle. And I want to let you know that you're not alone in feeling that way. That is completely normal to experience. Because you are a sensitive being and you're just picking up on all of that energy. So I do have a solution for you. And this is actually something that I briefly touched upon in my lecture over the weekend. There's a solution, and not only is this solution applicable to chaos and anxiety and applicable to, mastering this reality, but it's also applicable to mastering the reality beyond this one as well. If you really do and practice this thing that I'm about to talk about, it will help you in all aspects of your life. And to be honest, I don't know what other people talk about, but I don't think that there's enough people talking about this. This thing came channeled to me in 2021. And for the last half of 2021, it was the same message over and over and over again. This is the biggest tool that humanity needs to work with at this time before we move into 2024, before we move into this new phase of ascension. Okay, and before I get to that tool, I want to remind you guys, because maybe you missed the video where I mentioned it. 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. That's a 4-year cycle. We are ending a 4-year cycle collectively, and we are opening up a brand new 4-year cycle. 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027. Leading up to 2028, which then opens up a brand new cycle. So what was this past cycle all about, 2020 to 2024? This past cycle was all about the collapsing of the old earth frequency. We see it. We see it in politics. We see it in economics. We see it in mass media. We see it in the general restlessness of the population. It is so clear that the old earth is collapsing. Not to mention things like trafficking that have all been brought up, and these crimes that have been waged against humanity are finally coming to light. But not only are we seeing the downfall and the collapse of the old earth frequency between 2020 and 2023, but we're also seeing the collapse of the old earth frequency individually within ourselves. For so many, 2020 began their awakening. Who here actually just woke up for the first time in 2020, or even between the years of 2020 and now? And not only did you wake up, but even for those of us who have been on the journey for quite some time, we had an ego death in 2020. Even being on the journey for a long time. And an ego death is just a fancy way of saying a collapsing of your old identity that was no longer aligning to your highest vibration. So 2020 hit, the world's going through an ego death. The world's also waking up and questioning a lot of shit, and that's how we wake up. But then also you start to question yourself. Who am I? What do I want? What feels right for me? Where am I going? What's the point of all of this? And you start to realize that all of this shit that you've been identifying with, well, that's not you. Well, I have to wear makeup every day. That's not you. Well, I have to wear certain name brand clothing. Well, that's not you. Well, I have to have a certain type of job. Well, your job isn't you. Well, then, I have to be a mom, right? I have to show up and be a mom. Well, being a mom isn't you. That's not you. Actually, nothing about how you identify yourself is you. And when we start to realize and ask these questions of who am I really, and you start to try and grasp at straws to identify yourself, you quickly begin to realize that you have no idea who you are. And then you go deeper. And in order to go deeper, to understand better who you are and your place in this world, you need to let go of all of the false identities. Just when you thought you had a dark night of the soul and an ego death, and then you maybe got some upgrades and some information and you felt aligned and things are kind of aligning in your life and you're making new friends and it feels really good and you're settling in, boom, you have another ego death. And what I'm getting at is we're at the end of this 4-year cycle right now in 2023. December is right around the corner, which means that 2024, this brand new cycle collectively and individually, is also right around the corner. So what does that mean for us? It means that we've all been forced to revisit all of the old bullshit that no longer works for us, even though you thought you did it already. And then you have to realize that there's still some work to do. Have any of you in the past 2 months, November, October, September, even August was a doozy, have you gone through another ego death? Have you gone even deeper into your cleansing, your clearing, your shedding? Have you experienced crazy blow-up situations with your friends, your family members? Have you been forced to let go of stuff that you didn't really expect to let go of people in your life, of materials, clothing, things? Maybe it was a freak accident. Maybe it was a crazy sickness that just came out of the blue. All of that happened for a reason, because there was something there that was not working for you. And I'm telling you right now, there are still messages that are coming to you, even to this day, right now, in this moment, there are messages saying, yeah, I'm not really vibing with that person anymore. Ooh, yeah, I don't know if I really enjoy what I do for work anymore. There are seeds that are being planted of things that are actually not aligned to your vibration. And maybe they're just a thought in the back of your head. But I want to give you a leg up here in this moment and say that if you do not listen to those seeds that are being planted, if you don't listen to those very subconscious messages that are peeping through, they will be ripped from underneath you. You will be forced to release that stuff. And it's not pretty. So do the work right now. What about your reality is no longer aligned to the highest possible vibration? And one of the questions that comes up when I go through, and I just literally had an ego death and an upgrade this past week when I got sick. So I'm also in it as well with you guys. Like I'm not saved by any means from this like revisiting that's happening before 2023 is up, before the cycle is up. So how I like to pinpoint what is not harmonious in my life is what my mind constantly goes back to. So maybe I'm just starting to fall asleep at night. Maybe I'm doing some yoga. Maybe I'm in a meditation. Maybe I'm just in the shower, or maybe I'm driving. Usually in those moments where I'm focused, but my mind is blank. And in those moments, if my mind goes into, I have a great example for you. It just popped in. So I was walking my dad's dog the other day, and the dog leash wrapped around a light post of a neighbor's house, right? Like one of those like solar panel lights. Anyway, turns out this thing, I guess, was like hardwired into their landscaping. And as the leash wrapped around it, it pulled it out of the ground. And I'm like, oh no. And I tried to desperately shove this thing back into the ground, right? And I can't do it. And now I walk Bodhi and I see this freaking light post that's out of the ground. And I feel awful about it. And in those quiet moments, I'm like, karmically, it's not right. Like I don't know this is what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to like put some money, like maybe like $25 or something, into an envelope, write a little note and say, I'm so sorry. It was me. I fucked up your light and hopefully you can fix it, right? Like, but it's unresolved. It's this like weird disharmonic energy. It's so funny. Like what a weird example, but that's one thing that's been popping up in my mind, for a while. I mean, it's been a week. But yeah, like every time I'm out and walking Bodhi, I see it and I literally feel awful. So I personally pinpoint what is disharmonious. It could be a conversation that I had with a friend, or maybe sometimes it's a comment. And I'm like, you know what? That comment was out of ego. Maybe it was out of reaction. It wasn't from a heart-based space. So I'm very sensitive to the effects that I have in my reality that aren't in an unconditionally loving place. And then I have to have compassion for myself to be like, yeah, I am just a human and I am still learning, and that's okay too. And I try not to judge myself for having those moments. But it's those quiet moments that I have in my life where my mind goes back to those disharmonious things. Remember this. When it's easy, it's meant to be. I never have to think about or worry about the aspects of my life that are in full alignment, like my mission work. I really never think about, am I doing the right things? And I used to worry a lot about, am I doing enough? And that doesn't come up anymore because that's harmonized, right? So this is how you can pinpoint the disharmonies in your life. Are you thinking about a conversation that you had with someone a week ago, a month ago? Are you thinking about a relationship that you had 3 years ago? What comes into your headspace in the moments in between when you have the space and the room to think about things? Those are the things to bring into neutrality. So if it's putting $25 in an envelope to make you feel like you can sleep at night, do it, right? If it's going back into that conversation that you had to say, you know what, I'm sorry that I came across a little edgy and I was just tired that day and I probably shouldn't have said those things, neutralize it. And remember that we don't have to actually take action in our physical reality in order to neutralize things in our physical reality. You could even go back and replay things up here in order to neutralize them. Okay? But that's how you can pinpoint these old energy situations in order to neutralize them. And please do it before 2024. Because I'm telling you, karmically, energetically, things are going to continue to blow up for you if you are not listening to the signs. If the universe is trying to kick you out of your job because it's not aligned to your highest vibration, then listen, rather than getting it taken from you. Right? Okay, so now I want to talk about the thing, the tool. I have talked about this before, but not as much as I probably should. And the tool that I want to talk about in order to navigate chaos and, being an empath and feeling everything and feeling like as a human being, there is so much to do. You have to clean the house. You have to cook. You have to feed yourself. You have to pay the bills. You have to go to work. You have to take care of your kids or your pets or whatever. And just that. Not even other dimensions and aliens and spiritual awakening. Just the bare minimum is a lot for so many of us. And it's getting even more intense, especially with things like the collapse of the old earth and inflation and crazy financial things, and then also the sensitivities through the roof. It's culminating, it's building. So here's what I recommend. Start to practice the ability to connect and disconnect with the world around you. It's called vibrational navigation. And what I was mentioning in my lecture this past weekend, actually yesterday around this time, was that start with the 5 senses. So one of the easiest things to think about, and this came up in the lecture, is, believe it or not, we are always looking at our nose. Always. And yet, when do you actually ever see your nose? I'm sure right now in this moment you're like, oh my God, that's right there. It's right in front of my face. And then you go on and your brain consciously, subconsciously decides to forget that your nose is in your vision. That is a subconscious choice, choosing not to see something. Now, likewise, if you live by a train station, or you live on a flight path, or you have a frickin' grandfather clock in your home, which both of my parents do, every 15 minutes, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do. Like, oh, another 15 minutes went by. Thanks for reminding me, the grandfather clock. They don't hear it. They don't hear it. You actually just start not hearing things that are always there. And this is a really good example of a subconscious version of vibrational navigation. We are subconsciously disconnecting from an aspect of our reality. Very similar to, you could go to like a busy downtown area and you feel invisible. Like, holy shit, no one can see me right now. Like you are just vibing at a different level of frequency. It's very similar to that. So instead of subconsciously connecting and disconnecting from our reality, start to consciously do this. Consciously connect with your food as you eat it. Connect with the flavors and the spices and the melodies and the harmonies of that food as you consume it. Take the time to do that, but also take the time to disconnect from something that's in the room. Choose not to see it. Choose not to hear something. You know, at our property in Canada, right? I was sitting there and I was connecting and disconnecting with sounds. The sound of the wind through the trees, the sound of the birds chirping, the sound of the crickets in the grass. And one by one, I was able to cancel out whatever sound I wanted to get rid of. And then I brought all of the sounds back, and it was almost overwhelming. There was like too many sounds at once. If you start with consciously connecting and disconnecting with your 5 senses as a human being, you can then roll over to consciously connecting and disconnecting with other people, with emotions, with your empathic qualities, with your own energies and sensitivities, with other people's dramas. No longer do you have to be roped into, the bullshit going on with your family or your neighbors or whatever. You can choose to disconnect from that. And by doing so, you take your full power back. Now, although I call it vibrational navigation, quantum physics would call it entanglement. We're talking about energetic entanglement or quantum entanglement. And everything that you do and everything that you think of, you are immediately entangling yourself with that aspect of reality. So of course you're going to feel overwhelmed. Of course you're going to feel chaotic. Of course you're going to be thrown into anxiety. Of course. But you have the power to choose what and who you are going to entangle with. You have the power to choose what and who you are affected by. And when we can get to a place in our life where we are just living our life without any entanglement, without any external influence, that, my friends, is true mastery over this reality. We're not just talking about overcoming chaos. We're talking about mastering this reality. And then, and only then, when you've mastered your 5 senses, and then you've mastered the people in your life, then you can say, all right, I want to meet my galactic guides. Boom. And there they are. You are no longer entangled and funneling your energy into this reality. Therefore, you have the freedom and the space to connect with alternate realities. And that's all for me today. Thank you all so much for being here. Remember that all of these videos are available on my website, completely ad and censorship free. Not to mention, every single month I release, I want to say 6 or 8 videos that you will never see publicly. I have 2 coaching calls every single month. I have a Q&A that are live events with my members. And then I also have membership-only content that I'm releasing, including a meditation, a download, a how-to video, and so much more. So if you missed me last week because I couldn't be on YouTube, then just head over to the website. Check it out. Sign up for free as a seeker, and get lots and lots of videos, more videos than you'll find on YouTube, ad and censorship free. So check it out today. Thank you all so, so much for the support. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe as always. Sending you so much love. Keep up the good work. I will see all of you in the New Earth frequency. Bye for now.